It's now the time that you've all been waiting for, FTC Top 25. We've got 25 awesome teams who played Ultimate Goal. To be eligible, teams had to have an uncensored match video of their robot playing Ultimate Goal, regardless of whether it was remote or traditional. The top teams were determined through votes cast by community members and the highest official OPR that the team had achieved during a season at a competition, so official, according to FTCstats.org. And this is all based on ranking. So we'll show off the rank of the team according to FTCstats.org and the rank that they had in the community. And those two numbers together help decide what the final rankings were. So with that being said, Abbas, take it away with number 25.
Giving you a voice.
Making it loud our own way.
Welcome to the fun.
We would like to thank our friends at Stryker for supporting fun so we can continue to make content for you. Stryker makes some of the most revolutionary medical equipment and is a big supporter of FIRST and its participants. If you are looking for an internship or career that supports you being in FIRST, check out careers.stryker.com to learn more. If you're on an FRC or FTC team and you're currently meeting safely in person and have a functional robot, we'd love to have you on our Behind the Bots or Behind the Bumper segments. Go ahead and reach out to us on any of our social channels, on Discord, or send us an email at admin@firstupdatesnow.com, and let's get your team scheduled to be on First Updates Now.
Okay, so our first team of the night is one that is very familiar with our top 25 list, none other than 5064 Aperture Science from North Carolina. They were 14th in our poll ranking and 40th in OPR ranking. And it's really important to note, I think, that Aperture Science competed a lot earlier in the season than most teams. So their 40th highest OPR is all the way from like February or March, which is really impressive. And Aperture Science was the first team this year to break the 400-point threshold in their first official match of the season. A really incredible achievement. And featuring a very simple yet elegant path-through robot, I'm sure Aperture will be turning heads when they compete at MTI.
Yep, awesome team all around. Really excited to see them at MTI. If they competed later, I'm sure they would be higher on this list. That's all I can say. They're always improving. So let's see how they do this in 3 weeks at MTI.
Absolutely. So coming in at number 24 is Team 17759 Mind from Fremont, California. They had the 16th highest OPR in the rankings, and at their competition, they ended up ranking 4th at the NorCal Regionals, which just shows what a hard region NorCal is, that, 16th highest, and you're still ending up 4th. So it's a very clean and simplistic robot, a bit of polycarb spam for their mechanisms, as well as the usage of the remote gameplay sticks to block rings. I noticed their shooter has quite a bit of chamber before it actually exits the robot, and I do wonder if that helped with their accuracy or with their shooting speed.
Yeah, I think, Peter, you brought up an interesting point with the remote sticks. Do you guys think we'll be seeing them at MTI at all, or just completely gone?
So talking to volunteers and talking to referees, it's unclear whether it will actually be legal at MTI, because that could technically be considered controlling more than 3 rings, even if you just put down the sticks and you aren't holding onto 3 robots at 3 rings. So it's going to be a very tough decision on whether they actually use it. But either way, I don't think we're going to see them. If you watch Texas Cup, I think it was 2 weeks ago on Fun.
Yeah.
Right? None of the rings actually rolled back to the line, right? They were all up against the front wall because everybody was playing defense. I think Texas Cup was just foreshadowing what will happen in MTI. I don't know. Peter, you were there for that. What did you see at Texas Cup that you think will be used?
Yeah, absolutely. It was all, up to the front of the field, just darting between the front and the launch line was the way to play it. I don't think the sticks will be that useful, although I think they were at one point deployed by one team there. So, yeah.
Okay, and speaking of the Texas Cup, in 23rd, we have Peter's team 12533 Inception from Texas. Inception finished Ultimate Goal with the 27th highest OPR and performed incredibly well at the Texas State Championship in mid-June. Their ability to consistently hit the power shots and autonomous at endgame from pretty much anywhere in the field is paralleled by very few teams competing in traditional matches, and I think it's just their simple, quick same-side design that makes them such a powerhouse team. I know Fun Sean posted a behind the bot with 12.533 from the Texas Cub. So I would urge all of you to watch it after the show to learn more about their bot. Peter, anything you want to mention that's like really unique about your bot, or you want to tell the community?
Well, I think it's unique in its ununiqueness. It's really, honestly, quite a boring robot. Like, there's nothing crazy about it. It just sort of goes into the hopper consistently and shoots decently fast. That's really it. It was just consistent enough to be able to play matches and get high scores without breaking throughout the competition.
Sure.
Yeah.
This is my first time watching that finals match too, and wow, that's like
Yeah,
what?
I believe finals match 2 was the one Blue Alliance won and forced it to a finals match 3.
It was also where our wobble goal got stolen. That's very sad.
Right, like if this is foreshadowing what's going to happen on MTI, this is going to be literally every match on MTI. I'm really interested to see how the finals turn out there.
Yeah.
All right, in the 22nd spot, we've got Team 13917, ZooBotix Carbon Oxides. They hold the 24th highest OPR in the world, and they've got a super simple robot that looks very similar to the one that Gluten Free released at the beginning of the season, but significantly better optimized. The state championship, they were scoring 350 points in every match, showing the consistency of their simple design. Their two-motor shooter can change angle and allows them to score with real ease. I'm looking forward to seeing them grow in this upcoming year. Really simple robot here. They got a nice clean black and red color scheme. Use a lot of Actobotics, I think, and maybe Gobilda. Overall, solid bot.
Is this the first time the spot's been on FTC Top 25? I don't recognize this team.
I think so. With Michigan, a lot of the times it's hit or miss because the teams that are powerhouses one year are not powerhouses the next year. And so this must be a new powerhouse in Michigan. Probably
for such a short time.
Right. It's probably mentored by an FRC team that had more time this offseason to help out the FTC team. But yeah, I've
never heard of I haven't heard of any related FRC team to this. And keep in mind, these are middle schoolers too.
Right. Yeah. These are middle schoolers, and they're breaking 350 every time. So they had a lot of matches with 400. So I'm glad that Michigan actually had a competition this year because we didn't know whether they were going to. And it was nice to see this middle school team make it.
So I know Michigan's seasons for FTC are usually like a lot quicker than the rest of the community. Was that the same this year, Sean, or was it just like a normal extended season type thing?
So I heard. Go ahead.
I was going to say it ran later. I know that because we interviewed a team from Michigan in April, and I think that's when their states were or something like that.
Awesome.
Yeah, they had a lot more time to optimize. When I was looking at the Orange Alliance, it was a very recent competition that happened.
Okay, so in 21st is a very popular team from Washington, 12611 TechNova, with a bot that just seems to tick all of the ultimate goal robot checkboxes, having a dual intake, wobble turret, vertical intake, bounce back auto. This team has just performed very well this season, ending the season with the 20th highest OPR in the world. And from what I know by talking to them and stuff, they are rebuilding for MTI with some redesigned subsystems. So I just can't wait to see what they come up with. I know whatever it is, it's going to perform incredibly well.
Did they have a shooting turret?
They didn't have a shooter turret yet. So
yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, spoilers potentially. Okay.
Yeah, awesome robot. Their dual intake is really clean. Also, I love that I was voted to have the best hair on the show.
Overwhelmingly.
Overwhelmingly. 80% or something like that.
Wow.
All right, let's start off our top 20. Starting off the top 20, I think we have one of our only international teams on this list. We've got Team 16360, the Highland-Lynxes from Switzerland. They've always been on FTC Reveal Night, so thank you all for uploading videos for that, and we're glad that you're getting some recognition here. They had a real quick bot this year. They have like this huge intake that's CNC machined and 3D printed, averaging around 387 points at the Netherlands Championship. So I guess Switzerland didn't have a championship this year. Overall, one of the strongest international teams in FTC that I've seen. Glad to see them. I hope they get to come to a world championship because I don't think they've been to one yet.
Yeah, I think we need to touch on that intake one more time, Sean.
Yeah.
I mean, the videos I've seen posted in the FTC Discord, like the ring will be all the way to the edge of the robot. It'll just travel right to the opposite edge and go, yeah, just like in the video right now. It's really crazy how effective it is. Props to them for making such a well-tuned and efficient intake this season.
Yeah, it's definitely like one of the best intakes I've seen this year. It's just like the motion on it is just like so smooth from like getting to vectoring from one side to the other. Yeah. Okay. So charging into the 19th spot is team 12599, Overcharged, who finished their season ranked 5th in Oregon with a high score of 444, which they weren't quite able to replicate at their state championship. This robot is pretty unique on this list, utilizing a pass-through design with 6-wheel drive, and of course their Lindexer. I'm looking forward to how this robot competes in person, as one of several teams on the list competing at the Maryland Tech Invitational. And I think a robot like this with the 6-wheel drive could be a potential like defense spot in an actual in-person competition.
Yeah, I was gonna say just the same thing, Peter. Like you competed at Texas Cup against Eliminators. How was the whole 6-wheel drive against them?
Well, yeah, we competed with them at our regionals and then against them at the Texas Cup, and being on like both the giving and receiving side of defense really showed, they were able to do some damage,
Yeah, and I mean, Overcharged has just been crazy since the beginning of the season. I remember one of the first videos they posted on their Instagram of their Lindexer. It was just so fast, I couldn't believe it at first.
The only thing I have to say with the Lindexer is I still am a big fan of pick up from the front, shoot out the front. Because, right, if all the rings end up on the front side of the field, that's a 180-degree turn you have to do, where you could get pinned during that 180-degree turn and you're stuck, right? All I have to do is take a robot to the side of you when you have a 6-wheel drive, and you can't spin because you can't strafe away. You can just move forward and backwards, but I can move forward and backwards with you. And then your intake's on the wrong side of the field.
But another point to counter that, Sean, I mean, we saw teams like Bosons 3658. They had a same-side Lindexer, and Bosons is also competing at MTI. So we'll see if they tune it even more to make it, just that much more effective against any defense issues that teams foresee.
Yep, definitely excited for that. All right. In the 18th spot, we have Team 14341, Hypercube Robotics, with their super clean dual-sided intake robot. They have a really, really low-to-the-ground robot. Like, I'm surprised they could fit everything that they did in this robot. Dual-sided intake takes a lot of space, and they got it all into a really tight package. They've got really consistent shooting, and they've got great driving. When you watch their matches, they're able to keep the rings in front of them. And in remote, that's the key, right? Keep the rings in front of you, and you're going to be fine. So I don't think they're competing any more.
No.
But they had a solid season. And I think this is also a first time for them being on top 25. So hopefully we'll see more of them in the future.
Yeah, and I think we just showed the clip in the robot reveal, but their indexing mechanism was really, really cool. I enjoyed watching that a lot. And I believe they were one of the earlier teams that had like an adjustable side hood, meaning they effectively had a turret and didn't have to turn at all. And so when they were doing power shots, they just stay in one place the whole time, and that was really impressive on their end. Just an overall good bot all around.
Yep.
Absolutely. So into 17th place is Team 11039, the Innovators. Another very clean same-side robot, again featuring the remote gameplay stick. They ended up ranking 2nd at NorCal Regionals with a high score of 503. And I noticed that their transfer looks like really smooth, the way the motion of it like going in and sort of like going to one side to allow for their U-side shooter. And I like the use of their custom metal. And I mean, it might have been fun to see how they do in person, but unfortunately, they're another team that won't be competing, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that robot's either really heavy or just looks to be really heavy. I think it'd be interesting to see how it drives in a traditional match. I'm sure it would do well regardless. They seem to have a decently high shooter and a really well adapted intake to any situation. So I think they'd do well.
It's a thick bot, yo.
Yeah, absolutely.
It looks heavy.
It does. I think that just may be like the metal plates on the outside, though. I'm not like completely sure yet. So in 15th place is another powerhouse team from Texas, 11093, the Megaknytes. Megaknytes was just in 16th place was Megaknytes, and they were just an absolute scoring machine this year at the Texas State Championship. Especially, they were the first pick of the winning alliance and part of the alliance that holds the traditional world record of 522 points in ultimate goal. This is another team we did a behind the bot with at the Texas Cup, and there's just so much to learn about their bot. Personally, I think my favorite part about their robot is how they transfer the rings by moving or manipulating like the sides of the rings rather than the top and bottom. I thought that was really innovative, and obviously very, very effective for them. Peter, you've seen them in person. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I competed against them the entire season, leagues through Texas states. Yeah, and it's a crazy robot, like really good. Their transfer is insanely good, and yeah, like the belt sort of low angle like intake allowed it to be like really quick and just like swallow up rings like that, and then shoot them out. So yeah, it was definitely a scary robot to compete against the whole season.
Yeah, and I've talked to some of the members on their team. It's really impressive how effective just a super high shooter is. You know, they don't have any driver automations or many driver automations at all to align with the high goal or do any of those things that they just never miss. Just aim and shoot, and just always back and forth, back and forth.
Yep. 15th spot, right, Peter?
Yes. Okay. So coming into 15th is 8375 Vulcan Robotics, who ended up ranked 3rd at NorCal Regionals. Their robot has one of the nicest rolling ring intakes that I've seen. I just really like the motion on the rings as they roll into the main part of the intake. Their robot allows them to shoot out the rings as they come. It like feeds through the top. And they were able to shoot 62 rings in teleop in one of their matches, which is just an absurd number to me, at least. And I appreciate the fact that they made a robot reveal as well, of course. Content is good.
No, I think the demonstration on their vertical intake was just really, really nicely done. And you can really just see everything there is to see about it. You know, it'll be useful for future games or just whenever you're trying to learn about new concepts and things like that.
Right, you know that next year's game is going to have the gold code with some modification and the wiffle balls, right?
Yeah.
In Rover Ruckus, one of the most popular types of intakes was the rubber band intake. The fact that they've got one built up that they can prototype with, it'll definitely be good for them moving into the future.
Yeah, and the spot really reminds me a lot of technical difficulties. You know, the intake is definitely like a very different. Like the nuances of the intake are different, but you know the whole idea of the vertical spindexter is like pink team and technical difficulties. I think it'll be interesting to see how effective it is at MTI. I'm sure it'll be very, very effective with technical difficulties.
Interesting thing about them is they drive over rings that are flat on the ground, and then rings that are not get pushed up.
Go over.
It's cool that they've got two different paths going for their rings. All right, in the 14th spot, we've got Team 16896, Black Forest Robotics. We had them on our previous show, so be sure to check out the archive on YouTube to learn more about the details of their robot. This robot does an amazing job playing in person, like they designed it for. They've automated a significant amount of the teleop, which has been really cool. I think in this video, they get into their cycles real fast, and they were talking more about some of the cycling that they're planning on doing for MTI, which is going to be really exciting. So make sure to check out the video. They've got a lot of cool strategies. Their huge intake makes it really easy for them to pick up rings. And I'm really interested to see what changes they make for MTI.
Yeah, teams that have like their intake, like them, Wolfpack, Delta V, that's just not a robot I want to go near at MTI. Just the thoughts of those intake flaps hitting my robot or any other robot, it's terrifying.
I think it's just like they got a vacuum cleaner working. It's going to be a matter of how fast can they cycle rings with defense, because I think defense is going to be a big trouble for robots that stick out that far, not getting entangled into another robot, because those intakes are meant to pick up things, and if you pick up another robot, I don't know how reps are going to call that.
Or getting entangled and pressing the power switch.
Right. Worlds 2018.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, BrainSTEM had a surgical tubing intake in Worlds of 2018. They had a noodle hit the power switch on the Mechanical Paradox Cube on Finals Field, costing them the match.
Wow.
Yeah, very
I
sad.
remember that. Yeah, and then the disconnect in the match before, and
It was the match after that had the
match
disconnect.
after.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
Alright.
so in 13th is 7172 Technical Difficulties, who won their division at the Texas Cup before losing out to Megaknytes and Eliminators. They were also rank 1 at their North Texas Regionals. This robot is heavily optimized towards remote gameplay with a continuous feed into their shooter and their rolling ring intake, which a boss mentioned before. So at Texas Cup, they also had an adjustable side hood, which allowed for some versatility in their driving, which they do combine with a camera for auto aim. They too are competing at MTI, so as the only Texas team there, so maybe their previous in-person experience will be able to carry over into MTI.
Yeah,
What
I sure
other
hope
changes
so.
do they make from playing remote to in person besides like the side shooter hood? Do they do
I
much
think
else?
it
or-
was just the
That was-
side. Yeah,
That
like
was
maybe
it.
a little robustness here and there, but the side hood was, and I think it was giving them some problems at Texas Cup. Like I don't think it was very accurate. Right? There was I know there were some weird issues where like the angle just wasn't right and they were shooting way off to the field, but I'm sure they'll have it fixed for MTI.
Yeah.
Okay, on to our 12th place team. This is a team we haven't seen a lot from since late April, and that's 10435, the Circuit Breakers from Iowa. Another familiar face in the fun top 25, Circuit Breakers has just never stopped impressing this season. With a very simple and efficient intake and just fantastic driving, Circuit Breakers has consistently been amongst the top teams in the world, even being number 1 for some time earlier in the season and ending this season as 9th. And if I remember correctly, I think in one of their match videos, in the comments they posted a link to a PDF or a document discussing the evolution of their intake throughout the season, and that was a really interesting read, seeing how they went. It was simple the whole year. It was just simple yet effective the whole year, and it's really interesting seeing the prototyping they went through for that.
I didn't get to look at that. I'll have to take a read now.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I
Okay.
like how they cleaned up their bot. They got the nice white side panel
Yeah.
on there.
Yeah.
They're also going to be at MTI, I believe, right?
No.
They're not. Oh, that's disappointing. I thought
Yeah.
I saw them on the list.
Yeah, and I think it's a couple of their members' senior years too, so it's really disappointing that they're not at MTI. But yeah.
Great. Let's move on to the next team.
All right, so just missing out on the top 10 at number 11th is 7303, the RoboAvatars, who finished their season ranked 6th at NorCal, but will be competing at MTI. Their intake is absolutely rapid, but what I appreciate the most is their software. Being able to use the vision to detect the rings on the floor and utilize that in autonomous is absolutely amazing to me. And I really look forward to what changes they might bring to MTI.
Yeah, I think this is another one of the teams that I know a lot of the NorCal teams, or a lot of the really high-ranked teams, said they're not bringing the same bot that they competed with at NorCal States and all of that to MTI. So I think we're going to see some really cool things out of 7303. I just can't wait, because I know it seems like every month or every 2 months they'll just release another blurred video of them doing something absolutely crazy, and then a couple days later they'll come out with the unblurred version. It's just really nice seeing all the details of their robot and how efficient it is.
Yeah, overall, such an awesome team. I've loved to see them grow throughout the season, right? A lot of teams build a robot and then they can't iterate on it, but they've really shown how you can iterate on it throughout the season.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think one thing, I don't know if a lot of teams know this, but the way their flicker works, I think you can see it in one of their match videos, is it flicks both on the front way, when it's going forward and when it's going backwards, just because of the way it's designed, which makes their flicking time a lot less, which I thought was just a really cool way to do it.
Never noticed that. Have to take a closer look. Yeah. Okay.
If you don't know, by the way, a lot of fun shows have been sponsored by Stryker lately, and we really appreciate that because they really keep us afloat, especially during the pandemic year. So thank you so much to careers.stryker.com. If you are entering college or looking to go for your first career, or you've been around for a long time, for some reason you're an old boomer like me who watches FTC shows, go ahead, go over to careers.stryker.com to find out if there's a internship co-op career for you. We've had a few people from our fun audience now started work at Stryker, so very exciting for that. But leading medical technology companies, if you want to work on some really cool stuff, specialized stuff you see in hospitals and that sort of thing, go ahead and check them out and see if they could be right for you. So go to careers.stryker.com.
So, starting off our top 10 is Team 14179, the Sushi Squad, another powerhouse team from Washington. They were the first team to get an official 152-point auto in a match this season, and then posted an unofficial 164-point auto from a practice match. With their vertical spindexer and rapid intake, this team has just been turning heads all season. They ended Ultimate Goal as the 7th highest team with a top score of 511, and I mean, they've just continuously impressed every year. I know last year at Washington State's they were absolutely crazy, and in Rover Ruckus too, I think they were pretty good. But yeah, this year and last year, definitely they've been very, very good.
I just want to say, I think it's more impressive that they're on hard mode here. If you watch their floors moving as their robot moves, and that's even more impressive.
Yeah. And I'll say give props to their intake as well, because that is a big part of why their auto 100%. Is so effective. It also has like a very large radius, and they has some like very good vectoring from going to the sides, and then through the robot.
Yeah, one thing I found interesting about their auto pathing was they outtook the 4-stack, right? So like they messed it all up, which I'm just curious to see like how consistently they were able to get the rings to fall in like the same place and stuff. I mean, I'm sure with like an intake as versatile as theirs, you don't need them to be in the same place every time. But they're one of the few teams that didn't just intake like the bottom one, then the next one, then the next one, then the next one, as they all like fell down.
So talking to teams that eject, I know a couple of them. It usually is because their intake will jam if there's rings stacked on top of each other. And so by ejecting it, they usually get it flatter. And then because their intakes are so wide, they're able to pick up really well. All right, taking the 9th spot, we've got Team 6323, the pink team. They've consistently been in the top 25 this entire season with their super clean pink robot. They've got a fast firing rate and an accurate shooter that allows them to be among the best. With Florida being one of the top regions this year, we're going to see a couple more Florida teams today. They certainly held their own and deserve to be in the top 10.
Yeah, and I know talking to Brooks and Shane and a couple other people on their team, I think even though they have some seniors graduating, they're still going to be very strong next year. I think they have some good freshmen and sophomores and juniors. So I'm excited to see what they do. Florida is definitely a tough region to compete in. And pink teams always held their own.
Yeah. Okay, so on to number 8, we have 18219, Primitive Data, who have an all-black everything custom robot, and ended up taking the top rank crown in Oregon, but to be clear, they are from NorCal. They have a really unique turret, which allows for a very wide range of motion, with a really unique wiring method to allow for that. Their intake, in addition, is very versatile, and it allows them to intake both rolling and flat rings very quickly. And I can't wait to see what they bring to MTI, if they bring any changes to their robot.
Yeah, overall a solid robot. They were the first clean turret that I think we saw, and up until now, the only other game where we had turrets was Velocity Vortex, and all the Velocity Vortex turrets had fatal flaws. Like if you saw, who is it? Cybots, they had an awesomely, really cool design turret, but there was one fatal flaw to it, and it wasn't that accurate. They really showed you could make a turret work in this game. So I'm glad that they're getting some recognition, and they've really tuned up their design really well.
Yeah, and I believe now they have 900 degrees of freedom on their turret because of how long their wires are. So that's really cool to see that. I'm sure it's going to be a crazy bot to see at MTI. I am interested though to see if they keep the vertical intake or not. I don't know. I don't know if it'll. We talked earlier about the flaps from BFR and Delta V, and Wolfpack getting entangled with other robots. I don't know how those horizontally spinning tubes would react to other robots. Peter, was there anything like that at Texas? I don't remember anything, but maybe you might have seen something.
I don't know. I think technical difficulties might have gotten like hung up a bit once, but I don't even remember if that was their rolling ring intake. It might have been another part of their robot that got hung up a bit. But definitely like with the contacts and with like some of these larger intakes, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, yeah.
All right, taking the number 7 spot, we've got Team 3101, the Boombots. They've got a super unique robot with their large dual-sided intakes and turret mechanism. They keep their intakes facing sideways so they can pick up rolling rings, and they keep their bot nice and open so you can actually see what's going on inside of it. I really like the design because you can see the rings as they travel up and into the robot. Overall, this is a solid performance by them this year. They were world champs in 2019, so they haven't been able to compete since, so they're still world champs in the record book. Can't wait to see what they do next year. Maybe they can make a run at it again.
Yeah, no, I saw 3101 practice pretty much every day this year. They've just had a very consistent, really solid robot through the entire year. I think pretty much the only change they made was going from, like, they've had one motor for both sides of the intake the entire year, right? So, like, when the front intake runs, the back intake is always running. And before it used to be, like, both the front intake, back intake, and the transfer all off of one motor is, like, I think 11 or 12 axles, and then they just changed it so the transfer was on its own motor. But other than that, the robot has been pretty much the same the entire year, which just shows you, how important like driver practice and consistency and design and all of those things are. So very, very impressive.
Yep,
absolutely.
On to number 6.
All right, at number 6, we have 6165 MSET Cuttlefish. They have an incredible bounce-back auto, which allowed them to be rank 1 at NorCal. Arguably one of the pioneers of the sticks, they utilize them incredibly well in conjunction with their quick intake to be able to score well over 500 points. Fundamentally, the design is somewhat simple, but executed flawlessly, and I'm really excited to see what they bring to compete with at MTI.
Yeah, I mean, even beyond the sticks, right? Like the rest of the robot is just so amazing. We interviewed them. I think a month or two ago on Fun, but their intake with their vectoring system, their wobble goal with its huge margin of error, and their shooter is so accurate. Just like no part of their robot is left unnoticed. They've put thought and care into the design of every single thing and making sure it's as efficient as possible. And I'm sure whatever they come to MTI with will be just as amazing, if not better.
Yep, awesome robot. I love their clean black and green aesthetic. I think they're also paired up. We had them on a show previously, so definitely check out that show on our YouTube archive to learn more about their design process and their robot. They're paired up with an FRC team in the California area, and they've overall been just a solid team that's been growing well. All right, and now we are in our top 5. In 5th place, we have the only team in the top 5 that's not competing at MTI. We've got Team 7321 Charlotte Surge. They don't have a turret, a vertical pickup, or a dual-sided intake, but they're still able to score over 600 points. They've got a simple robot that's able to score 70 rings in teleop, and it can't pick up rings that are stacked on top of each other. They have to be like flat, so they sometimes get jammed up, but they were still able to score those 70 rings. Overall, their execution is just flawless. They do a great job making accurate shots and show you that you don't need fancy bells and whistles to make an amazing robot. Overall, just so fast.
Yeah, I know, Ishan, you mentioned they're the only team in the top 25 not going to MTI. The thing is, they did apply. Top five. Yeah. The thing is, they did apply, but they did not accept their invitation. I mean, of course, they were accepted by MTI, but they chose not to go. I was talking to them a couple months ago, and they decided not to go right now, but still just absolutely amazing team. They broke 600 in Florida. It's just really fantastic.
Yeah, and I just appreciate like you said, Ishan, like this like simplistic designs that just work phenomenally well. And it's a really just neat robot that just keeps shooting.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, want to take on number 4?
Of course. This is a team I'm really excited to talk about. Our 4th place team is definitely the most impressive rookie team this season by far. 18438 Wolfpack Machina from Massachusetts has just been incredible all season long. They ended Ultimate Goal as the only team to break 700 points officially, and have the world record for it. And they were also the only team in the same video, in the same match, to get the official 164 max perfect auto. I'm sure everybody is super excited to see what they have planned for MTI. And I know one thing that they mentioned is they don't even use odometry, right? So as you were saying with Charlotte Surgeon, you don't need those fancy bells and whistles to make your robot work super, super well. But they didn't go that whole odometry route. They obviously didn't do. There's nothing more that they could have done in autonomous. So you definitely don't need odometry to do really well in autonomous. And I think my biggest question is like, where do they go now, right? Like, how do you go up from here next year and the year after that and the year after that?
It's going to be really interesting to see a rookie team compete in 2v2, right? That's one of the hardest things for a team to be able to do, effectively compete in 2v2, especially in their rookie year. So I think that inexperience is going to be definitely tested in this upcoming competition. But let's take a look at how they do. I think odometry comes into play when you play 2v2, just because let's say you bump into another robot, then you're screwed. Mm-hmm. And I know I saw that in Chesapeake. When two robots were paired together, they're going to bump into each other occasionally. So we'll have to see how they tune that autonomous to make it to the
and it's really important to be able to like work with partners to try to avoid situations like that when you don't have odometry, which is like what we experienced. And so going in like meeting teams before, and I know they'll have like less opportunity to do that at MTI. So we'll see.
Yeah, and another thing, Ishan, to build on your whole odometry and auto situations, Florida held a state championship scrimmage match where like the program delivery partner basically asked 4 teams to come and play matches like during the award ceremony, like intermittently throughout it. So us 3101, Java the Huts, and a rookie team, I believe their name was Gearworks or Gear Minds. We played 2v2s, and like I think it was the first match or something. Like Gear Minds and I and us hadn't talked about like our auto pats too much, and we were like, okay, let's just run it. And so like when we were going back to score a bounce back, they were in the way, and so like because of our odometry, we were able to just keep pushing back because we knew our location the whole time and score the bounce back. So it's really important. It saved us there definitely from getting any penalties or anything like that.
Okay, so moving on to number 3 is 7244 Out of the Box. Might be the most simple concept robot on this list. Their steep green-wheeled Omni intake feeds directly into their hopper, where they can quickly rack up points. Their wobble goal mechanism is fairly unique, utilizing a forklift-esque design, and they have an adjusting hood, which in conjunction with some auto-aim can be a potent scoring weapon. Their shooter is high enough that it might be difficult to block come an in-person competition. And I'm curious to see what changes they might bring to MTI.
Yeah, I mean, not only their shooter, but just like their whole robot is built for in-person matches. The intake, there's no like drop take for them to break. Nothing, or if there is, it's very, very robust. And their new wobble goal mechanism that they posted on the FTC Discord and the videos they put out, everything looks super strong. And especially their programming, like their whole vision software. I know they've posted videos where they like show like big red boards and blue boards like in the middle, or like people with red t-shirts and blue t-shirts, and the robot's not detecting them as the high goal or anything like that. So that's definitely very, very impressive, and I'm sure it'll serve them super well at MTI.
Yeah, really interesting. The best thing about this robot is they've got a high shooter, right? When it comes to MTI, teams are building blockers. We know that's going to happen, and they can get away without hitting a robot that's 18 inches pressed up right against them. They should be fine. I think that's just like I pick them just for the fact that they have a high shooter, and then let alone they've got amazing scoring capabilities. That's why they're rank 4, rank 3 in OPR. Overall, just an amazing robot. I think they're going to really do well. I'd expect them to be an alliance captain or first pick at MTI.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of like capability wise in the same way as like Megaknytes, who also have that high shooter. Yeah, and just like we've seen from Texas Cup that having that like high shooter, having a bulkier robot is just like such an advantage in the actual 2v2 competition.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think one thing we should talk about before we get into our top 2 are FTC top 25 snubs. Do you guys have any thoughts? I know one team comes to mind for us and a couple people in the chat as well, but Peter or Sean?
Yep. So in 26th, we had 13648. In 24th, we had 18253. In 27th, in 28th, we had 16884. 29th, 15534. 33rd, 18246. They were ranked 17th in the polls. In 13th in the poll, which was actually ranked 43rd when you added the OPR in, you had 5890, and then ranked 24th in the poll, but actually getting 54th in our final ranking due to OPR was team 14481. So you all are liked by your community, but your OPR just wasn't high enough to get you in there, or you had a really good OPR, but your community ranking was just not high enough. So we're trying to balance out. That's why we use this new ranking system that has about 50% weight on each OPR and community to make sure that the best teams get in and teams that are popular also can.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think Lemon definitely pops out as one of the top teams, 5890. We've mentioned them a couple times tonight.
Yeah.
I just can't even imagine how MTI would be with them. I'm sure they would just completely switch up the competition there. Their shooting is just so incredibly fast. Their driving is just top tier. Everything about their robot is just designed so well and robust.
Yeah, one of the things with OPR is not a perfect statistic, and I'm never going to claim that it is. And we started as a team throwing it away after our second or third year because it's not worth, especially in a 2v2 competition. It doesn't take into account teams playing a secondary side versus a first side, right? You always have a primary and a secondary robot. If a team is playing a secondary role, their OPR is obviously going to be lower, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't pick them. It doesn't take into account defense being played. It doesn't take into account a significant number of things. I find that just doing manual scouting is the best way to go for teams. And we used OPR this year because of the virtual events. We don't know what we're going to do in the future.
Yeah, and I think a couple other teams we should mention. There are some of the ones going to MTI. I heard 18253 Beach Bots. They've posted some very impressive videos of their robot. You know, I know we mentioned a vacuum cleaner for Black Forest Robotics earlier. I think they also have one of those vacuum cleaner type robots. It seems like the rings just gravitate towards their intake. And the whole 6-wheel drive, really high shooter. I mean, they're just another bot that's built for traditional matches. And then 14481, Don't Blink, they've been a very strong team this year as well, with the whole dual intake turret, just checking all those boxes again for a good ultimate goal robot. And Delta V 18246, they've also posted some pretty cool videos for their MTI bot. So I'm excited to see all of those compete at MTI.
Awesome. Let's get into our top 2.
Okay, in our number 2 spot is Team 8393, the giant diencephalic BrainSTEM robotics team from Pennsylvania. I don't really know what more we can say about them based on how much we've talked about them this season in top 25s, headlines, interviews, but they've just been simply as incredible as previous seasons, outperforming teams by head and shoulders in the beginning of the season. I remember I would look on FTC stats and it just seemed like all top 10 were just 8393, 8393, 8393, and it was just so incredible seeing like the whole vertical intake meta that I think you could say they defined it. I mean, Tectonics was obviously one of the first teams as well to showcase it, but BrainSTEM has really just perfected their play throughout the whole season. And it's been just really impressive seeing all the new videos, and in the description of the videos, like, oh, new transfer next week, more optimized intake, things like that. It's really awesome seeing those. And I can't wait to see this bot at MTI. I think it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, overall, such a solid robot, very efficient, but I don't know how they're going to hold up with MTI. They've always had traditionally very delicate robots. And so I'm interested to see how they actually tune the robot to be able to be that battle-tested robot that we know at the World Championship, because every single time I've seen them compete in November, they always have something or another break. I'm also interested to see how their strategy is going to change, because their entire strategy from the front was always be shooting. But they're not going to be able to do that at MTI. And so with new drivers, with everything going on, I'm really interested in seeing how they perform. All right. And now our number 1 spot, everybody pretty much already knew this. It's Team 8644, the Brainstormers. They got the highest OPR, and they're ranked number 2 from our community voting. They're scoring 600 plus points without a 4 stack in auto, and overall are one of the best ring cyclers. I'm interested to see how they adapt in person because we're going to see them in a month in MTI. They, again, play the ring is coming to me, I will be consistently shooting. I know that they're definitely practicing with defense. They've got their dual-sided intake, so that should help prepare them. And they've traditionally had very strongly built bots, so I am excited to see that. It's gonna be definitely a very strange competition with most people getting their first 2v2 at MTI.
Yeah, I think with Brainstormers we have seen though that like they have like that driver's sense, the game sense that you need in order to perform well at traditional matches. Earlier in the season, I remember one of the first videos they posted, they had the dual intake, but it wasn't like they were constantly switching between using the forward intake and the back intake. It was just like there's like 2 or 3 key moments during the match when they decided to use it, and it was just those little things like those that showed that they really know what they're doing with the drive and they understand the game, and I think it'll carry forward for them well into MTI.
Yep.
Yeah, agreed. I'm looking forward to seeing them. I think their robot does look like bulky enough, like Ishan said, to maybe be able to like withstand some of these like rigors of an actual gameplay. But yeah, it's just going to be a really interesting tournament with a lot of these top teams competing, but for the first time in person, and with a lot of these remote strategies being optimized, but have they been able to re-optimize towards in person?
Yeah. All right. That's going to wrap up our top 25. The final one for Ultimate Goal. For those teams coming to MTI, I'm going to make little fun FTC top 25 stickers, and those out. You can display them on your robot like we did a couple of years ago at Rover Ruckus. So really excited for that. We'll also be seeing a lot of these teams at MTI. We're going to try to get behind the bot interviews with most of them, and we've got some other special stuff planned for the production.
We would like to thank our friends at Stryker for supporting this video. Stryker is looking for current and future FIRST alumni to join their internship program, and FIRST mentors who are looking for a great career with a company who actually supports their FIRST journey. Go to careers.stryker.com to learn more. You can also directly support Fun by joining Fun Nation. Click the join button, and just for a few bucks a month, you'll unlock special perks and directly support us so we can keep making great content. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to stay up to date on our new videos. Keep the conversation going and provide your input to our content. Watch our live shows at twitch.tv/firstupdatesnow. Join our Discord at discord.gg/firstupdatesnow, and check out Fun FTC on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and First Updates Now on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter.